Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Melbourne Traditionalists podcast, episode 33. I'm Mark Moncrief from Upon Hope, and I have with me David Hiscox from XYZ. How are you, David?
Very good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, as you normally are. Now, I actually got to be on the Uncuckables.
Yeah, I got to watch. It was quite interesting. Yeah. What I like about the way you go about things, like you know your facts and figures, and so you're able to give actually quite specific information. It can take a little while to get used to the banter on those live streams, and they go on and on and on. But yeah, the actual political analysis I really enjoyed.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good. And it was quite an interesting experience. Yeah. So, and you're on it nearly every week.
Yeah, I'll be back on this Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life sentence.
What's that?
Life sentence.
Oh well, it's myself and Tim. We've built the product.
Yeah.
Myself, Tim, and James, and a few of the other. Yeah, but I guess week in, week out, it's been myself and Tim. Well, it's been an XYZ and Unshackled sort of collaboration, and it's become a really good product because it's a way that we can just bring in everybody else from the independent media in Australia. We get them all on.
Yeah, you get a wide range of guests from all over, don't you?
Yeah. Not all of them have been uncuckable, I've got to say. But we've thrashed out those issues when they've arisen.
And you weren't there on last Thursday, and I was there instead. And in fact, people started referring to me as the hairier, older Dave. Yeah. And I had to point out the truth that while you look young, you are actually 60 and use a lot of skincare products.
I'm 70.
my apologies, 70.
No, sorry, no, I'm 1,488 years old. I enjoy the memes and the memeing that they go. There was this thing in the early days, let David speak, but really I just didn't speak enough. And they've got this David always late thing going on, but it's
I noticed that.
We all play along with that. It's quite fun. Yeah.
Now today, what I wanted to do was go over an article that I wrote back in 2013, and which I have just recently recorded and put up on this channel, and that's What Do Traditionalists Believe?
Yeah. We're pretty sure that we were going to discuss this in the very first episode, in the very first podcast that we did, but then we just did something else and we haven't come back to it. Yeah.
So as I've recently recorded it, I thought it might be a good time to go through. And what we'll do is I'll read out each sentence, and then might have a bit of a discussion, and sometimes we won't need to say anything. Traditional conservatives believe in the traditional structure of society with different social classes and different sex roles. We do not believe in everything that happened in the past. We believe that the family is the basic structure of human society, not the individual nor the government.
What I've noticed about this and the next couple of paragraphs, actually, you're going against individualism, but you're not necessarily in favour of big government. Like, there seems to be this idea that we associate collectivism with the government.
That's right, yeah.
But collectivism isn't a dirty word, Mr. Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
It just means that we work together, but we're after the best way of working together.
That's right. And also on the flip side of that, there's a difference between being an individual and individualism.
Yes, absolutely.
Because individualism is a philosophy, an ideology that says that the individual is supreme and he has no loyalty to anybody else except his loyalty is all to himself.
Yes. We're tangenting pretty hard off this first paragraph here. That's a really important thing. You can't contribute to your own people and your own family if you as an individual are just no good. It's something
and you can't contribute to them if you reject them.
Absolutely. Yes, both. Yes. In my 20s, I reached a point where I had to focus solely on myself. And I did that.
And there's a time for that.
Yes, I did that for my own sake. But I also understood that it wasn't until I actually pulled myself together and made something of myself that I would actually be able to have something to give.
Yeah. And I guess the thing that we're really trying to bring out here is that the individual is not the center of the world. The family is.
Yes.
You know, because the family provides a structure for everybody. It provides support for every person.
Yes.
Yeah. The next paragraph. We reject the idea that the home is less important than paid work. We contend that the value to society, the individual, the government, and the economy of work within the home and in support of society is a value that cannot be counted, a value that makes life better and worth living. Without the support of the home, society and the economy collapse. Without the family, the individual is alone with the government as both their only support and their boss.
Yeah, great. I like the way you basically just pull apart feminism in one paragraph there. It's interesting now that even though we have women in the workforce, we have feminists trying to collate the value of work done by women in the home, as though somehow we should be compensating them for that, even though they're primarily responsible for getting them out of the home.
That's exactly right. And in fact, I saw something interesting, which I remember from the 70s. I was on Facebook, and there's a woman that I like a lot of her posts, and she had one from the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, a short story from 1973. I don't remember 1973, but I do remember these stories.
Yes.
And these stories were Sarah's a stay-at-home mother, and you know, if she was paid for her job, then she'd be paid some billionaire's salary. Because you know she's on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and blah blah blah. And it's part of that propaganda of trying to break down the home and say, hey, if you're not paid for your work, it's not of any value. And what we're saying is, no, it's exactly the opposite. You know, if you're not paid, I mean, obviously you're still supported, you're still looked after. That actually has a value, and all these economists who are trying to put a value on it, it's completely the wrong way to look at it.
Absolutely. The key moment in this paragraph, which I think is the hang on.
So this is what you're good at.
Without the support of the home, society and the economy collapse. So that's absolutely spot on. It's something that I've been starting to understand recently, that 90% of all economic theory, even on the right, I think, even libertarian free market sort of stuff, is just rubbish. What we've seen since the end of World War II is basically we've seen how the economy works. At the end of World War II, we had a perfect storm of relative peace, new technology, and traditional social structure. So it was a period where, like, World War II had just finished. We had all these new things because we developed all this technology to win, and mum and dad still lived at home together, and they generally had lots of children. So there were always lots of new people coming into the economy because because men and women were having big families. Those new people are the economic growth of the future, because you have the economic growth from the previous generation who are coming through. So there are always new things to sell them and new homes to build and to buy. And you're guaranteed, because you have that stable social structure where there are always going to be children born, you're always going to have economic growth in the future. There are always going to be more people to sell to. If economic conditions become a little tight, people will regulate how many children they have, and that will mean that the economy will contract in the future.
And in fact, we're seeing that.
And you deal with that. And so that's what happened, because our rulers changed those conditions. They encouraged women to get into the workforce and to stop having children. So they killed the goose that laid the golden egg. But they at least had a few decades where they were pushing more women into the workforce, and so that they could keep the economy growing that way. They were able to keep they were able to get like half of society basically into the workforce, and keep just that machine kicking over.
And that's right, and that's how, when you look at it, you see that women entering the workforce in large numbers in the 70s. I mean, women have always worked, but away from the home, that's a new thing, and in such numbers. And now everyone becomes dependent upon that.
Yes. Well, the bad thing about that is that now, like, everybody's having to do double the work, because the women are working in the workforce, and then they're having to pick up the tab at home. Men are working at home, working in the workforce, but now that's not enough. They're expected to do more stuff in the home as well. But because you have both mum and dad, if they're even mum and dad working, you have two incomes, or you just have single incomes. But basically, like, because you've had more of the population working, we've been able to afford to pay more for stuff. So that's led to inflation as well. Everybody's working harder and running around doing more and more things, and we have less and less time. So of course we're having less and less children. So where's the new economic growth going to come from? Well, there are all these people overseas.
That's right. That's right.
So let's just ramp that up. And so you can have more people coming in to keep that economy growing, because you've got an unlimited supply of people from overseas. And there's the thinking, isn't it? And in fact, I was reading a letter in Quadrant magazine, and this guy identified himself as a economist, and he lives in Canberra, so he most likely works for the government. And he said, he was complaining about another article that was written, and he said, we need immigration or else we'll just be a nation of old people. And so, hold on a minute, don't immigrants get old? And then someone else pointed out to me, when a young immigrant couple comes here, they have children, and then what do they want? They want their parents here to look after the children. So we actually get a triple whammy of old people, and it doesn't solve the problem. It in fact creates a bigger and bigger problem. And so the point I'm making is that we've actually changed the whole nature of our economy. Our economy essentially has collapsed. Because we're not keeping it going ourselves. We are now reliant on importing other people to keep the economy going.
And goods.
Because we've destroyed our society.
That's right. That's right. The next one, we reject the transfer of authority, wealth and influence from the family to government. We contend that the transfer should end and indeed reverse.
Again, I really like this. Is what I was talking about with the first paragraph. We used to have one kind of hierarchy. And in the name of destroying hierarchy, we've replaced it with another hierarchy.
Well, there's one of the great traps of liberalism is liberalism says the individual is supreme. So to make the individual supreme, we have to get rid of all the power structures. But there's still those jobs that those power structures did still need to be done. So who does them? The government. So basically you have all these autonomous individuals and this all-powerful government.
Ayn Rand didn't quite take that one into account.
No. We believe in full male employment and not in chronic unemployment, that either immigration or unemployment can exist, but not both at the same time.
So this is one we spent a lot of time on. If immigration is supposed to boost the economy, and we've had mass immigration for decades, why do we still have mass unemployment?
Exactly. And it proves when they talk about what brilliant economic managers they are, what absolute morons they are. Because they don't even achieve what they themselves say that they've achieved.
Either that, or what they actually mean when they talk about economic growth. They don't necessarily mean that it's going to be beneficial for all of us.
Actually, that's an interesting thing. That you're right. They're not. They're talking. They always talk about the GDP, about the overall wealth of the nation, and not about the individual and how much you're getting or how much you're being used up.
That's right. And both the Liberal Party and the Labor Party talk about spreading the wealth, spreading Australia's wealth.
Yes.
If they really want to do that, why do they keep having mass immigration to boost GDP, but not do anything about mass unemployment?
Yeah. We believe in marriage, not in divorce. We believe in community and not in isolation or individualism.
Yeah, good. There's a reason why there used to be a strong social. What's the word when you stop people from doing something, but it's not an official thing? Stefan
Constraint?
Molyneux talks about constraint. Yeah, there's a word that Stefan Molyneux uses. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah,
He uses that all the time.
Yeah,
doesn't
basically, you use social means to stop people from doing stuff. There's a reason that used to exist.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that they've worked so hard to break that down.
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. And you hear people...
Ostracism.
Ostracism.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Because that other word was too hard to say. I couldn't even say it. People actually, they realise that marriage is broken. And so many people, because they themselves have been affected by it and they feel a bit guilty about it, when you say, divorce is a bad thing, they get very upset.
Oh yeah, you get
because you're
emotional
attacking
responses from people.
Yeah, because you're attacking them.
Oh yes.
But what people have to realise is that every single one of us is guilty. Maybe not in divorce, but in creating this society and going along with it. Mm-hmm. We've all sinned. We've all done the wrong thing. Yeah. And collectively we have to say, hey, just because I was an alcoholic, that doesn't mean alcohol's good or bad. It means that we have to look at it in a realistic way.
Yeah. And that's why Maddie's modern life now is he's talking about no fornication before marriage. Mm-hmm. I actually really like that because it's like, okay, what's the point of all this? Is it for your individual pleasure or is it for everybody's benefit? It's an amazing thing that the people who've pushed this idea that we should be trying to help everybody, i.e. the socialists, liberals, whatever, are the ones who push this idea of, like, one of the most important things, sex is solely for the individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
We believe in financial solvency and not in long-term debt. We believe in each segment of society and the economy having their rightful place and influence, but none dominating for long.
Usury should be outlawed. Yes.
Well, yeah, there's a point where it becomes abusive, and certainly I think a society where everyone is in debt, well, that's really a society of slaves.
Yes, yeah, and that's the whole point. It's the whole point of debt-based currency. It's not meant to be paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this pattern has happened many times.
Yes.
Yeah. You've got to get used to the idea that you can only create what you're able to pay back, basically. Wealth based on debt is illusory and it's not sustainable.
That's right. And in fact, my stepfather, he used to pay everything. He used to save up and buy things.
That's what people used to do.
And exactly, that's what people used to do.
Yeah.
And now, of course, it's the other way around. Yeah. Go into debt, and then once you're in debt, you go, well, what's a little bit more? What's a little bit more? Yeah. And of course, this is completely unsustainable. Yeah. We keep hearing this word sustainability, but in the financial sector, it's completely unsustainable. Yeah.
But if you keep importing immigrants, those houses will, housing prices will keep increasing, and it's again coming back to that theme. Like it's just a matter of keeping that going.
Yeah.
We've destroyed our society and we've destroyed our economy.
Yeah.
And if we want to restore our society, we're actually going to have to destroy the economy. Like it's actually going to have to go.
I think that it is possible to nudge it.
Yeah.
And to nudge it back into alignment. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that it needs to be so drastic. Mm-hmm. And I think that, but again, we have to accept that that's what we're doing, and we have to actually want to do it, and then do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We want to take things back to the 50s, yeah? The 1650s.
In some ways, yes. In other ways, no.
Yeah, I'll miss the indoor plumbing. Yeah.
Now, this is the most controversial of these. We believe in freedom of religion instead of being anti-religious. And I've received more comments, like nearly every comment I've received has been about that line.
Yeah, right.
And because people interpret it in different ways.
Yes.
And I guess the real problem on the right is we haven't actually worked out what our religious beliefs are.
Oh.
We haven't really decided whether, there are some people who are Catholic, some people who are Protestant, some people who are Orthodox, and they all have issues with each other from time to time.
Yes.
And some of them are substantial and some of them are quite petty. There are pagans, there are atheists, agnostics, and occasionally we get, Jews and Muslims and what have you. So we do have a diversity of views, but I think the one thing that we agree with is that we shouldn't be anti-religion.
Yeah. I don't know if the two can be separated. I worry that it's an either or. I wonder if the concept of freedom of religion is itself a liberal value.
Yeah, it is. It is. And at this time, because we don't have a unifying idea, like we're not all Calvinists. If we're all Calvinists, it'd be easy, or Catholic or whatever, but that's not where we are. And I find that it's just enough to actually get people into the same room and say, hey, we don't hate God.
Yes, absolutely. I do like the approach that there is a freedom of religion approach amongst the right. I think arguments between Christians and pagans and between different denominations of Christians, they're not essential to the movement.
Exactly. And I also think, even in a religious sense, that we have so many problems that we can't afford to have those disputes.
Yeah. Having said that, I like the idea of banning all other religions apart from Christianity and making an exception for European pagans. But that's my ideal world.
I won't say I totally reject that. I'm sympathetic.
Yeah. I might also make an exception for Hindus because there's a strong argument to be made, and Buddhists. There's a strong argument to be made that some of those Eastern religions and philosophies actually have alien influence going back thousands of years. But those, it's difficult to actually put proper research into that in the current environment. So,
The next, we believe in social, political, and economic stability. And I guess that leads into the next. We do not believe in change for change's sake.
But can you stop it? What I'm talking about here, I'm not talking about this in terms of the whole liberal argument, you can't hold back the winds of change, you can't hold back the tide.
You can't hold back progress.
I just keep returning to that Glubb essay about the cycle of civilizations. We can talk about the fact that the changes that we've seen in the last 75 years, they actually go back to the previous century. Like we can keep sort of seeing the cycles in bigger and bigger and bigger. But this whole idea of liberalism is something that's always existed. Like you've always had these two forces. It's the strong men create good times create weak men create bad times create strong men. You've always had those forces.
Well, you've always, things don't stable does not mean static.
Yes.
And to have a period where you can actually raise a family and have a decent life, you need stability.
Yes.
But you have to accept that change is going to happen. But the problem that we have is this cult of progress that liberalism pushes, where it says that you can't stop change.
But that's existed before.
No. You're talking about two separate things.
No. You can like
change happens.
Yeah. In the Glove essay, it talks about how, like there were, for example, like towards one of the ends of the cycle of one of the civilizations in the Middle East, sort of centered around Baghdad. There was a period where there were these minstrels who would play on their guitars, or the guitars at the time, and they would have all these bawdy songs, and all the youths would like it, and the government kept trying to ban them because it was encouraging licentious lifestyles.
Yep.
But they always seemed to make their way back in. I think that this idea that you can't stop progress, all that sort of stuff, I think that idea has always existed in the human mind, and it's just the way that the cycle of civilization works. Like you start off with men who are strong and build a civilization and conquer a large area of territory, and then you have big families, strong families, but then it's that comfort and the wealth and the success that allows these ideas to fester, and then they come along, they destroy the society, and then you just go through the whole cycle again. So for me, I see yes, it's important to have like these traditional ideas, but maybe we're going to have to accept the fact that there's just going to be a small portion of us who still hold on to that, and that's how we keep ourselves going, that's how we keep our race, our ethnicity going.
I'm not as pessimistic as that.
I don't see it as pessimistic. I just see it.
It is very pessimistic.
I see it as just accepting the natural order and going, okay, well, how are we as a people going to survive? It's like whether you're attached to the civilization that we've created, or whether you're attached to us as a people.
No, I think it is very pessimistic. I think it's the barbarians are always going to arrive, but actually, it's our job to fight against that. And that includes, all this transgenderism stuff and all the feminism. That's barbarianism, as much as a Viking longship turning up and burning down docklands. Actually, maybe that wouldn't be barbarianism.
Maybe we'll be the barbarians.
But in the end, we have to create an environment where families can exist.
Yes.
And that's what we've always got to struggle to create and to stop from being destroyed.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. We believe in the traditional family of one husband, father, one wife, mother, and their children. We are against any action or policy which attacks or weakens the traditional family.
There's a reason they've gone straight for that. They've gone for one of the pillars of what makes us strong and what keeps us together.
That's right. And you can go back even into the 1700s, and you'll hear people talking about, hey, the destruction of the family is liberalism's goal, although they called it something different at that time. And
what do they call it?
They have various names for it. They usually call it Whiggism.
Oh, right. So the Whigs were liberals.
Yeah, Whigs are liberals. Whigs become liberals.
That's right. I have heard that. I forgot.
So, this is a long-term idea, and they have always denied it. But that's what they always do. They always deny what they actually want. We believe that each segment of society should enjoy respect commensurate with their support for stability. We believe that extremes are only rarely of value, and that moderation is normally the best policy. I expected more than a from you.
Yeah, moderation is good. I wouldn't describe myself as someone who has moderate views. Again, I don't see myself as pessimistic, but all I see in the future is conflict.
Well, I think that's been set up, and I think that I think you're right. I think that's what we will have conflict. But we still have to make sure that the things that we believe in survive.
Absolutely. I like the fact that all three here, like if it's a little bit further, and I'll wait for that actually. I'll wait for it to progress.
We believe that the government should be loyal to the people, and that the people should return that loyalty.
Yes, if the government is loyal to the people.
Well, exactly right. Exactly right. And that's why it's written like that, because the government has not been loyal to us. Mass immigration is not loyal at all. and replacing us is not loyal, and pretending that we don't really know what we want for our own lives and that they know better. That's not loyal either.
And this has been one of the key pushes of like everything that we've written on XYZ, and I think it's understood pretty well that the government is not on our side. The Liberal Party is against us, the Labor Party is against us. They're two sides of the same globalist coin. And it was really revealed the last couple of years when Fraser Anning got a moment in Parliament to actually put forward genuine nationalist views, or the closest that we've had to genuine nationalist views. And it became very clear that those were topics that both sides of politics were absolutely dead against discussing. Yet these are the topics which are absolutely at the forefront of everyday Australians, like of real Australians' concerns.
That's right. Yeah. We believe that employers and employees are on the same side, not competing against one another. We reject class warfare. At
this point, I'm like, I love the way that you're basically making the point, like everybody has their role to play. Like women belong in their home, and it's amazing what happens when you have like a community of women with big families in the home. They form their own networks.
That's right.
If somebody gets sick, there's always somebody to help. If somebody is struggling financially, there's always food on their table. That's how you create a community. That's how you can have a community where you don't have to lock your doors.
Yes.
In the same way, like some people shouldn't finish school.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Some people should not be allowed.
Actually, everyone should finish school, but they shouldn't necessarily finish at year 12.
Yes. There are some people who, should not be let anywhere near a piano or a book. But then there are other people who should not be led anywhere near manual labour. And it's just accepting that that's how people are, rather than saying everybody should go to university.
That's right. We're talking about real diversity.
Yeah. Just going, okay, that's what your skills are. You focus on that rather than have to running around doing all these different subjects. Focus on that one thing and get good at that.
Exactly, we believe that men and women need each other, both on a personal and societal level. We reject both the claim that men and women are rivals or that the differences between them don't matter. The differences are why men and women need each other.
It was a piece that we published today. We don't need, with regard to the women's AFL, we don't need women to do what men do.
That's right.
Because they're never going to do it as well as us. Like,
that's right. And the same in reverse.
That's the point. We're like women's AFL is always going to be awful, but men are always going to be awful at giving birth. And when I say awful, I mean impossible.
Well, even if it was possible, I mean,
think of where it would have to come out.
You always have to go there, David. Always.
Well, fundamentally that's why.
But even
if and I split mine.
Even if there was an artificial womb and men could carry them around, and they simply wouldn't look after children as well as women do. And we've all had to look after children at some point. Sure, we can do it, but we can't do it as well.
And even in looking after children, like we've got mummy's way and daddy's way.
Well, exactly right.
I love those memes of like when dad looks after the kids,
baby and dishes in the sink. We do not believe that man is lower than animals, nor do we believe that mankind is better than angels. We believe in man's fallibility and imperfection. We further believe that extends to our works and institutions. We believe we need to strive to do our best as our imperfections stalk us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm taking this in my usual direction. The takeaway I have from that is that war is not the worst thing that can possibly happen.
That's right.
The worst thing that can happen is that you become slaves who are being replaced and you're not allowed to say anything about it. and you're not allowed to do anything about it, and you're not allowed to do anything to make your people strong, like have strong families and actually live like you have for the last 10,000 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We believe in our heroes, great and small, who gave so much to us and our heritage. We believe in the future of our people and nation. We believe in the love of our country, in its honour and in its well-being.
Yeah, good. No white guilt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We believe in
Here we go.
war and peace being opposite sides of the same coin, and to prepare for both. We do not believe in mankind ending history, nor do we believe in the perfection of man, nor of his institutions.
Yeah. So yeah, just building on what I was saying before.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the left have made a real point of making us feel guilty about previous wars and previous conquests.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what everybody does. That's what every living animal does.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's how we survive.
Yeah.
And you either survive or you don't. And it's part of the good times creating weak men. There's this illusion, which was just summed up by the Fukuyama article, that everybody else in the world can live like us, like civilized and not having wars, and being in a liberal democracy with us, in crony capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's so stupid because the West's borders, at least then, were protected by men who were prepared to do horrible things.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's how we've even when you look at Europe, it appears that the Scythians, Aryans, whatever you want to call us, somehow we sort of originated from some point in southern Ukraine, and wave after wave after successive wave of invasions of white peoples came from that point into Europe. So even in Europe, we got what we have because we conquered it.
Yeah.
And you either accept that and go, okay, that's the way it is, or you just say all war is bad. And then someone else who still believes in that fundamental principle is going to come along and take what you have.
Well, that's right. And there's the problem with pacifism is that it only works if everyone becomes pacifists at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to happen. So we really need to understand that war is, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, it exists.
Yes.
And we have to prepare for that. But at the same time, we also have to prepare for peace, because that's real too.
That's where you build.
Yeah. We believe that there will always be rich and poor, and that the poor and weak need and deserve our protection. We do not believe in a dog-eat-dog world, but we do believe in healthy competition within society and the economy.
And that's how the family and the church used to work. If someone was struggling, somebody in the family could look after them, and if there was no family, at least there was a church that you could go to and get fed.
Yeah. And we have to do a much better job of looking after our own people.
Oh yes. Well, I think we used to.
Yeah.
Again, that's part of the evil of just this progressive liberal idea that the government has to take care of it all. That's what the do-gooders used to do. They would see, there are these people suffering, and we should all look after them. But they used to be looked after, and they used to be looked after better.
Yeah. And we go back. Without the family, the individual is alone with the government as both their only support and their boss.
That's right where we are.
And
now.
That's where we are when it comes to welfare. Instead of families looking after themselves and each other, instead of individuals helping other people, it's let's give our money to the government, and the government sorts it all out, and uses it to further their agenda instead of actually helping people. We believe in good policy and not in feel-good politics.
Yes.
We believe that the victims of crime deserve justice, and that serious crime deserves serious punishment.
Yes. Well, I love I find it amazing, the idea that we've actually improved our genes, or at least we did, for several centuries. We by executing murderers and rapists and like the worst criminals and removing their genes from the gene pool, that was actually what's the word? Not dysgenic. The opposite of that was actually eugenic policy.
Yeah.
Now in sort of blaming society for the actions of people, for not holding them responsible for their actions, we're keeping them in society, we're encouraging that, and we're keeping their genes in our gene pool, and that's dysgenic.
Yes. Yeah. We believe in traditional authority and its rightful place. We believe in respect for the government and in respect for the rule of law and the institutions of law. We believe in respect for our armed forces, law enforcement, and emergency services. We further believe that respect must be returned, or respect can turn to contempt.
Yeah, and that's what's happened.
And that is what's happening.
Yeah.
And I just put up an article about that very thing last night.
Oh, good.
We believe in respect for our glorious dead and for our veterans, for those who serve and those who have served.
Absolutely. I love that respect still does exist. Like, real Australians still do really respect the Anzacs.
Yes.
Despite nearly a century of Marxist attempts to program us against that. What I find amazing is that Lucas Ross's in I think his first article for XYZ, he actually pointed out the riots that occurred in Sydney.
Yep.
I think it was shortly after the end of World War One, where the Marxists basically tried to take over the streets, and the returned Anzacs got out there and beat them all up.
Yeah.
So that's how long the animosity has existed between Marxists and real Australians. It's from the word go.
Yeah,
it's two completely different visions.
Yeah, you're quite right.
Yeah.
And remembrance is a battle that we won.
Oh, yes.
And that's one that people forget.
Remembrance is a battle that we won.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you go back to the 60s,
Yep.
and in fact from the 60s up until 1986 in Melbourne, every year there would be protests at Anzac Day. And veterans would be assaulted, and it was
not just Vietnam vets, but World War
even
vets.
older veterans. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember in the 80s there was a group called Women Against Rape in War, and they would go and protest, and really they're just the standard. They're just the standard leftist clowns that we always see. They just gave themselves a particular name, and they would assault veterans and abuse them and blah 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 on Anzac Day, and it stopped. And in fact, not only did it stop, but crowds actually went up.
Yes,
and more people actually attended the dawn service and Anzac parades and so forth. So they made a really concerted effort to get us to say, that was something older generations did. That's not something that no young people are interested in those things. Yeah. And it turns out that no, they were wrong and we were right.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I find that the older I get, and the fewer of our war veterans there are, the more you appreciate just how important they are.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we're seeing. That's what I love seeing so many young people, like really young people, at all these Anzac Day parades and remembrance services. It's great because we realise, hey, this is a part of our heritage, and I think maybe people are either consciously or unconsciously aware that that heritage is being deliberately eroded, and so that's why you see so many people at the dawn service.
Yeah,
they're like, we've actually got to keep this alive.
Yeah. Although unfortunately, even things like the dawn service are being politicised.
Yeah, we'll discuss that too, Mr. Andrews.
We believe in equality of all before the law, but reject the idea that equality means equal in ability or of outcome.
Yep. Some people are retarded.
Well, yeah, it is true, and some people who aren't actually mentally retarded are intellectually retarded.
Yeah. It's something I've learnt to understand as a teacher, just to respect the bell curve. and
Yes.
not let it
Yes.
affect your mindset and your
And
belief in your ability.
this is the thing that always gets me about this equality. I guess for me, this is maybe the one that I would change
Oh, yes.
from when I wrote it, because my view of equality has changed quite a lot. Not that
Mm.
I accepted everyone was the same, but now I think that not only are people different, but that's actually a good thing.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And when we pretend that it's not, we actually set people up to fail.
Yeah. Yes.
And-
Well, as we were talking about before, like some people should not be made
Yeah,
to
you
read.
made
Some
that
people
point.
should be kept away from manual labour.
Yeah.
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 Exactly. We believe that there is a time when necessity is more important than the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that the nation and its institutions exist to help and protect the citizen of the nation first and foremost.
Yeah. How amazing is it the way that they've redefined what a nation is?
Yes.
Civic nationalism is not nationalism.
No, exactly right. It's not civil either.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's multiculturalism and white genocide
Yes.
wrapped in an Australian flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, we believe in human nature and that we have answers, but we know that we do not have all the answers. For that, you must seek a higher authority than man.
Yeah.
So that's where,
I like that. That's the humility of it all at the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a problem that many political philosophies suffer from,
Yes.
is that they think that they have all the answers,
Oh, they think
And
that
it
they
may be-
have to.
and they think that they
Yeah,
have to.
And so then you're in this endless game of trying to tie off all the loose ends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's simply impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, David,
You're welcome.
and I think we'll end it there.
Absolutely.
Now, where can we find out more about you?
Come visit us at the XYZ, xyz.net.au.
And you can find out more of my thinking at Upon Hope. Just type that into your favourite search engine and you will find my blog. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.